Tommy and Mike lighting up the sky. Dance to the data, laughs in the mix. Fabric and AI, get your fix. Explicit measures, drop the beat now. Podcast kings feel the crowd. Explicit measures. Explicit measures. Drop it loud.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Explicit Measures podcast with Tommy and Mike. Hello, everyone. How's everything going, Tommy?
Things are hanging. Things are doing well.
Excellent. All right. Well, we are jumping in today. There are some really cool topics. We're going to talk a little bit about our beloved friend. We don't talk about him very much. His name is Excel, and we're going to talk about how Excel and field parameters work together. What do you pick? Do you use field parameters? Because that kind of blocks you in some areas. So we're going to unpack a little bit around field parameters and Excel and see where we take it from here. That being said, Tommy, let's go jump into some news. What do you have for us today?
Well, you got a really interesting article that I cannot wait to argue with you on this. So there's a blog post by Miles Deisher, and he's talking about this AI podcast. Mike, you found this. So tell me a little about what you found, what your thoughts were first, because I'm intrigued.
Let me first give you some context.
Yeah.
Everything I look at on the internet is like filtered by the lens of AI. Mm-hmm. My X algorithms, my YouTube algorithms, anything I'm on, doesn't matter. Like we even post little shorts and videos over to TikTok. It doesn't matter. Every single platform I'm on, it's serving me like AI can do this, AI does this. Like it knows that I spend time researching and learning about this AI space. It's just happening so fast. It's changing so quickly. So that's first and foremost what's happening here. What you find, though, is constantly I'm seeing people like talking about podcasts and speaking about new topics or things that are related to AI. So Miles is one that I've been following. He was been in the crypto space for a number of years, but he's kind of really heavily pivoted into just AI and the AI space. I also think I see a trend here too, Tommy. When I look at other MVPs and what they're building and what they're doing, there's a lot more now discovering, building, and creating directly with AI, which I think I can find very interesting.
Sure.
These are MVPs that were in our data space, like in data platform MVPs from Microsoft. I'm just hearing a lot of people picking up these tools and really diving in, really understanding them. And so I think this is a little bit of my experience as well. But Miles goes through and summarizes this podcast from Naval, I think is how you say his name. He has a new episode. He talks about AI is now the motorcycle for the mind. Is where AI kind of fits here. It's, we used to be using computers. That was us moving around on bicycles. We were able to be more efficient. We were able to take what we were able to do, effort-wise, and multiply our effort by being on a bicycle and move farther. Right, Tom? You know this. You're a big biker,
big cyclist. Yeah,
cyclist.
Yeah. Do you agree with everything that is on at least in the tweet here?
So let me give you some. So you're asking if I agree. Let me just give a couple of bullet points out of the tweet. These are extracted kind of insights that he thought he heard from the podcast. So I'll just kind of rip out a couple here just so you can hear what's going on, right? Vibe coding is the new product management. Training and tuning models is now the new coding that we're doing in the new future here. There's no demand for average. The best app will always win 100% of every category. Everyone else gets nothing. So it's kind of like a feast or a famine, right? If you can design a good app or have a really good solution, solutions are going to win over the proliferation of just half and mediocre apps, right? That's something there. It's saying medium-sized companies will get blown apart. Giant aggregations of tiny niches will survive. So you're going to have a lot of niche areas that are going to kind of solidify, come together. Those will be do really well here. Don't bother learning prompt engineering. AI is adapting faster than you can adapt to the AI. I find that one interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about that comment. Every human is now a spellcaster. AI is a magic wand that just got handed to everyone. And I kind of agree with this a little bit, Tommy. I think that's a little bit of a true statement there. No entrepreneur is worried about AI taking their job because being an entrepreneur isn't a job. Any AI that shows up is really just another one of their allies. Okay. And then let's see here. I don't worry about unaligned AI. I worry about unaligned humans with AI. I think that's actually interesting concept there. And then let's see here. Looking for the towards the bottom of the article here. Become the best in the world at what you do. Keep refining what you do until this is true. This still applies in the age of AI. I thought that comment towards the end was actually really good because as MVPs, we spend a lot of time becoming the best at MVP stuff, and we like the Power BI tool, and we like educating and learning. That I think resonates with me very well. The means of learning are now abundant. It's the desire to learn that is scarce. I thought that one was another really insightful part. And then finally, he lands on a computer used to be a bicycle for the mind. Now with AI, it's a motorcycle, but you still need someone to ride it. Okay, those are the kind of couple key comments that came out. With those, your reaction, Tommy?
Mike, I thought I was one up for hot takes, but there are parts of this I agree, but I don't care for the tone here where it's like, oh no, there's a lot here where he's saying it's black or white here, which I don't think is the case. Like, for example, he's saying there's the best app will 100% of the time. Listen, unless machines are running everything, that's not going to be the case, because you still have the politics. You still have to get in. Mike, I could build the best app or whatever their product. First off, this whole idea of everything's an app.
Finish your idea.
Yeah.
This one particularly, I think I have some words towards, but keep going.
Okay, yeah. So, anyways, this idea that the best app always wins, it's not the case. You still have the politics of people, and you still have people. If you still have people, it's not always going to be perfect, and it's not always going to be the desired. The best outcome always wins, because listen. If that was the case, you and I wouldn't be consultants.
So what I think he's alluding to here. So I think you're taking the read on this one a little bit different than I'm taking the read on this one. So let me give you my perspective on this particular comment, right? And I'll read the comment again one more time. There is no demand for average. The best app wins 100% of the category. Everyone else gets nothing. What I'm saying here is, let's just say, I'm going to play out just a rough little story here, right?
All right.
And I'm seeing a lot of this also on my feed as well. And me personally, I'm also finding this to be very true, right? For my workflow, when I do a podcast, there are certain tools that we use that we pull together to help produce the podcast. Trello is part of this.
Mm-hmm.
We have Loop, where we take notes on things. We do that, right? We have Miro, maybe taking some ideas down. So all these tools, right, have something that is useful to me in that tool. Okay.
With this. Okay.
And what he's saying here is, if you have an average tool, if someone buys your tool and you only do 80% of what the customer needs, if you only do 50% of what the customer needs, it's very easy for you to go out and say, I don't like this application. I'm going to vibe code something better that does exactly what I want, 100% of every task I need through the entire workflow. So to me, what this is saying is any other person, so the magic wand piece, right? Mm-hmm. Anyone can show up and build anything. Let me give you another example here of this. I think there's a token war coming, Tommy. If you access, so I have a thesis that I've been really mulling over here for the last couple of weeks, and I think it's actually more true than ever. Technology is awesome. I like it. I use it. But technology centralizes power. Think about that. Technology only centralizes power. All the messaging you hear from like Microsoft and the big tech companies are, use our tools, buy our stuff. Technology is so great. It'll help you be so much more productive. But what has to happen is that technology now requires me to go to Microsoft, to Google, to anyone, give them dollars, and in exchange, they give me the software, the technology that I need to do my job. So
last 30 years, sure.
Yep, and it's getting worse. And I think AI is going to continue to concentrate this, right? And so the idea is, does Anthropic have the spend that I need? Does Microsoft have the servers that I want? Does Google, Meta, whatever other company, right? I have to pay them to get access to this technology that knows every single coding language, every single book, has read all the literature, has ability to make images. Like, it is the tool that I need to make my team and my company extremely successful. So this better technology, all it does is it just centralizes the power down to a few very large corporations. So this is something I kind of like, I understand it, but I'm not sure how to impact it, right? And so when I look at AI distributes this for the first time. Like, yes, you still need the AI. Yes, that's still a centralized power here. But in the advantage, Tommy, you don't need to know how to write an app anymore. You can just say, I need an app that does this, 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 and this. And the AI can be really good at getting you a first pass at this. And you may be replacing Trello, Loop, uh, content generation, Adobe Express. Like, there's all these other programs that we use to build things for the podcast. We don't need them anymore. I don't need to pay $5 here, $20 there, $10 there. I can go out and build exactly what I want, which is exactly what he's talking about here is if you have an average product and you don't do everything your customer needs, the barrier for you to leave and go build exactly what you want or go find someone else who's building exactly what you want is almost nothing.
Okay, counterpoint here. Counterpoint.
Go ahead.
In this world that you're talking about of hyper-personalized apps, which I use all the time and have built for myself, and I know you're doing too, then nobody's making money. And here's the problem here, because you and I have talked about this. I know some things you're building. I have like those model managers. We've talked about things for our own process, for our own individual work. This goes back to the idea of micro versus macro in the world of AI. Micro, or the AI works great with micro, with the individual. You can build your hyper personalized app. But the problem, Mike, is that's hyper personalized to you. Maybe to one or two other people who are also in that same process. But the problem is if everyone gets hyper personalized, there's no such thing as enterprise applications or enterprise process. The reason why Microsoft exists is because they've been able to build apps that can be used in an enterprise, right? And this is the problem. All the apps that you may build, they may solve your problems 100%, but in the next individual may not be their process. So what? They have to build their own application. And now everyone has their own individual applications or own individual processes where that doesn't equate.
I'm going to say
in a business.
So what? It doesn't matter. I think this is the point of what AI is supposed
Nothing gets scaled. Nothing gets scaled at this point. And more importantly, at some point, nobody's making money.
It's not a problem. I don't see what. So if you're getting to a place where people need to have the same, we're continually moving away from UI and front end stuff, things that you need to build to use and interact with the app. We're moving more and more towards MCPs and APIs. I thought we were already in the era of APIs like months ago. Even more so now. Now everything needs to be scanned for like the bots, the AIs, the how can I interact it with like a chat something, right? So the companies that are winning right now are not winning just because they have AI.
Right.
It's because they're building everything with AI as AI is first in their build process. That is like it's helping you create, it's helping you build, it's helping you organize. That's going to be everywhere. To your point, Tommy, the data is still the data. The process is still the process. There's still how we do business, but the AI is so disruptive. We're having people now. I'm in insurance, and I've been using ChatGPT to write copy for me to help sell something. Right? Everyone else is doing what they need to do.
Yeah.
But someone on the team is selling inordinately amount more insurance policies than anyone else because they're using AI to help build their language, and they're saying these things work, these things didn't. Write more like this, write more like this. These things didn't work. Get rid of that. Add this. So they're constantly refining their process, but they're doing it at hyper fast speed. So the process still exists. The bigger story will always be there. We're not going to throw away the organization and the plan and the bigger step here. What I'm going to say is it's people now solving in their daily jobs highly stylized, highly built things that you can build quickly, right? And so I think what this is really saying is the tolerance for having anything that's mediocre, right? You're using, let's just say, Salesforce.
Fine.
And Salesforce does like, oh man, I wish it would do that. Well, if Salesforce doesn't give you the ability to say, here's the core fundamental of my program, and oh, by the way, you can bolt on AI to do everything else. Like, this is one of my beefs right now with Microsoft Fabric, which is I can go to Fabric and I can build lake houses, I can build tables, I can build all these things. But where is the front end creation experience that I need to customize to actually make Fabric extremely efficient for my team? Really different process.
Yeah.
Like,
so
let me take Lovable and bolt that directly onto the Fabric data system, right?
I'm glad you said this, because you're speaking of two things I was going to mention. One, well, first I would have to ask you: is apps be all end all in the world that we're living in? Because the conversation on applications or AI right now, especially this whole vibe coding thing, which, to your point, you and I have been talking about this. I talked about years ago when this first came out about the whole Venn diagram of BI and AI is going to definitely intersect.
Yep.
But it's not all apps. And the thing is, have we solved this with Fabric? Not even close.
I don't even know apps is the thing anymore. I think it's more like there's something new evolving out of this, Tommy. I don't even want to call it an app anymore because it's more like, yes, maybe it's an app, but it's more like, can I just describe what I want? Can I stub together something that's just there? Yes, it's an app in the fact that, it has like a front end. There's like maybe fields that you enter in. It's going to maybe do something. It's going to represent some information, but there's a back end to it as well where the data gets stored. So yes, it feels like an app, Tommy, but I think when I look at the word app, I think about a development team that has built an app with someone's vision very specifically for a process. I kind of want to think of an app as here's a starting point. Like Lovable is doing a really good job of this. You can build a Lovable app that has a front end to it. There's some data being stored on the backside, and you could go when you build it and deploy this app, you can say edit with Lovable. And so it basically takes you to the application, and then you customize it for what you need. So here's the starting part. Here's the starting point of this app. And then what happens if you can customize everything you want? And I think this is where this article is going for me, right? This article is kind of indicating to me is the barrier to customize and make things that are very niche for exactly what we want has almost gone to nothing with AI. I do want to kind of end here. We're talking a lot about
because there's actually a good segue here, a really good article.
Here, let's roll into the next thing.
Yeah, so actually, kind of speaking off of this, there's an article off on the Microsoft blog that they're taking from Matt Schumer, who is the CEO of Hyperwrite and co-founder of Other Side.
Or the Power BI blog.
This is on the blog, but they're mentioning on X, formerly Twitter. There's this shockwave, this article that was pretty impactful in case you haven't read it. It's called Something Big is Happening. It's been viewed over 73 million times, and it basically compares this moment. This is the article I was talking about last week or 2 weeks ago. I couldn't find the moment in AI to this period just before the world understood the true scale of COVID. That window where few people saw what was coming, but most haven't caught on yet. And they're equating this to what they're trying to do in Fabric, because this is, again, when you think about our lives, our world, the data professional, the data developer, you're like, this is all great. Vibe coding is great, but to your point, we're limited with tools right now in Fabric to build. However, I think sometimes we miss the point here where we realize that just because we as developers cannot build completely in AI does not mean that what we can do with our clients can be built and ready for AI. And because you think about it, Mike, we can build native vector semantic search. That's a huge thing we need to be thinking about when we create databases. Like if I'm creating a database or a storage for someone, I have to have AI in mind. I had a conversation yesterday, a discovery call, and they're like, wherever we put our data, it needs to be AI friendly. And that honestly is, dare I say, the primary requirement of our job now. It's outside of rather than a semantic model.
100% agree with that. So, and so the idea here is, what hooks do you have that allow AI to talk to a semantic model and write DAX against it? What hooks do you have that allows you to put data in a lakehouse and have an AI talk to those files that are there? What hooks do you have to build out a Fabric SQL database and hook into that the ability for people to talk to the SQL database with the AI? Like literally build things on top of that. So I'm now actively building multiple apps on all of Fabric stuff. But the app is outside of Fabric, and I'm building specifically designed apps for customers using the transactional side of Fabric and also the operational, so the OLAP and OLTP. I'm transactional side and the operational side of reporting. All of that's being built in Fabric. So that is Fabric is the fundamental, and this is the only thing that I think people are maybe not talking about. What AI can build anything, but AI can't make up customer stories, can't make up customer data, can't make up customer sales information. So the only thing that AIs can't do is how, like the actual data of what you're producing. How do people interact with what your products and services are? That's something that's purely human and has to be part of your system.
Right.
You have to collect the data. The data
And
is now ultimately way more important now because everyone else can replicate everything else in the software space.
here's what frustrates me about this, though, too, because if Fabric's trying to be that AI space, it doesn't have all the AI capabilities for a customer. Not thinking about me, the developer building using AI, but storing the data. SQL Server 2025 does. It has RAG ready, without a separate vector, without a vector DB. It has built-in vector and similarity search. Existing SQL skills carry forward, but the Fabric database has, trans-analytical by design, real-time mirroring, but it doesn't have the vector search and it doesn't have the similarity. So we are missing features, and this is stuff we have to be aware of, Mike, when it comes to the world we're living in. Oh man, are we really no longer building for semantic models when it comes to if I'm building in Fabric? Because I feel like we're getting closer and closer to that. If we are getting to this aha moment, this something big is happening, and I need to build my data that way, like there's an argument there. I don't know if I agree with that, but there's an argument there.
Yeah, there is, but I'm also going to kind of maybe note here as well. Like there's a heavy amount of change that's coming through. I think the Microsoft team is very well aware of like where they are in this life cycle of things. I think again, if I look at my experiences recently with Copilot and PowerPoint versus Claude Code work inside PowerPoint, night and day different, dude. Night and day difference. It's not even comparable at this point. So I think heads are rolling at the leadership level of Microsoft to get this stuff worked out and figured out.
Yeah.
And I think finally we're getting where I feel like we're getting is Microsoft is, I think, repivoting and focusing on the creator of content more so than the consumer of content, right? I think the more we focus on the creator of content, the better off we'll be. We really need an agentic coding space area for building visuals and stuff like that. That's got to happen. We are so far down this path that like this has got to be a thing. Like I'll be honest, Vega and Vega Lite are great standards, and AI agents know them really well. And there's lots of examples, and you can build a ton of really cool stuff by talking to an agent in concert with what you're doing in Vega and Vega Lite. So stay tuned, community. You're going to see something come out in preview from Mike pretty soon around Vega and Vega Lite and the ability to vibe code your own visuals. Like
it's funny. Yeah.
I'm building it now. And again, I have no tolerance for any half-hearted product. Like the fact I have to click buttons on a visual in a Power BI report is almost like I'm looking at this article and saying, yeah, that's average for me. Right. I don't want it to do that. I have a better vision of how I want to make visuals now.
All right. I'm on the edge of my seat. Now it's funny because you and I think I'm glad you and I not differ, but we see this differently. I go back to like one of our first episodes. I think it was like episode 9. And it was basically, what does a BI developer look like in 2 years? You are taking this when you look at AI from the lens of the developer, the individual building in Fabric. How does that process with AI look better for me? And how is that a better experience for me? All the things you've been building and focusing on are that developer's experience with AI, which is awesome. But I'm looking at this, Mike, and I'm seeing this as what is the developer doing for companies with AI? And I think both of them are valid and important. It's just funny because I feel like every time you and I are talking about AI, you and I always take that differing opinion. They don't conflict. They're not in conflict with one another. It's just they are two different lenses on this, where I think there needs to be a better experience for the data professional to build using AI.
Sure.
But in the same fashion, what output am I creating with data? And I think that's just as important because there's going to be so much on how am I building in a way for organizations, whether it's a report, a semantic model, or a vector database that's going to be for the organization. So it's funny because you and I are taking, I feel like, different tracks on this, which is great. One, it makes the podcast more entertaining, and they don't conflict. But I find that interesting that you and I are, every time that something with AI comes up, you always take that lens, and I'm always going, okay, but what's the output? Like, what's the product that I'm going to be creating here?
Yeah.
So it is interesting here when we look at them. So I know we've hit that a bunch. There's one more news item. We'll just give some love to data flows, and then let's get into our topic. So, hey, data flows, Gen 2, Mike. This is a new article. It's called Recent Data. Get your data faster. Get back your data faster in Fabric. Preview. So add that to your preview list, Mike.
Yep.
So the recent data, you know what this is. If you're in Power BI and you connected to a source and you want to go to the recent data, cool. Now, the difference here is the new recent data module goes beyond tracking recent connections, which is what we're used to. It actually remembers specific items you worked with, including the tables, files, folders, databases, and even the sheets, which is a big difference rather than just simply the data source. So you can jump back into the exact data that you need without navigating through the folder structures.
Mm-hmm.
And this is available in the Power Query ribbon inside an existing data flow or the modern Get Data experience. I like that a lot. And again, it supports browsing the source location so you can pull up the related items. And again, this is a data flow only at this point. This is not Power BI desktop. So they are looking at this. And again, this is coming from the Fabric Data Factory Ideas, which is where someone asked for this. So nice that they're still looking at this.
Yes,
so a little love. So a little love for data flows Gen 2 here.
The more we can make this easier for people to use, the better people will like this one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So anytime you're talking about getting your data in faster, working with data flows Gen 2, it is not the most cost-effective version of writing code or building things as loading data, but I have to also argue, like, the lion's share of probably what people have been building or have found valuable has been coming from the Power BI world. So if we're trying to bring in the Power BI world into more of a Fabric world, you're going to have stuff like this. Like, this is going to have to be easier, and onboarding is going to have to be simple and create these things. Now, I would also maybe argue here, again, I'm going to go back to my AI space.
No, I was going to do it too.
I understand. This is great, right? This is all UI driven. But where is the Power Query agentic space? Where is the just tell me what I want? Hey, look, I've got this Excel file. Go look at the Excel file. Pull in this, and this, right? That should be really straightforward, and it should be able to build multiple flows or tables inside Power Query. Look, let's be honest here, Tommy. Like, when you're in Power Query, what are you spending a lot of your time on?
Okay.
It's the mundane setup of stuff. Like, hey, I know I need to use a parameter to get multiple. I'm going to connect to multiple tables with the same source. I'm going to have, it's a SQL database, and I'm bringing in a lot of tables. I want to set up a parameter to set up all these things. And right now I have to go through each individual item and say, okay, load this table. Okay, that's not what I want. I don't want a hard-coded endpoint here. I have to go through each table and connection and update it, or go take out the M code and do something over there, or export the entire template. Where's the agent experience in this? Where's the AI to help me with this thing?
Time out, man. Time out. I agree with you. However, this goes back to the idea, this whole 100% the best app wins or the best process. Mike, according to whom? Because this is phenomenal for new users. Not everyone is going to want the same experience. So when you say, I want the best app or the best experience, to who? Right? So is it, I can code the best, I can have the best user interface, right? So everyone's going to have their own different experience here. Is it only cost? Then we shouldn't be using this at all, right? Then we should not be working at all on the data flows at all, doing anything agentic with it if it's only a cost thing. But it's not. There are so many other factors here, Mike. I know what you're saying. I know. I would love to go to data flows. Heck, I can do this with Claude kind of, and they just copy and paste the query. But to say, you know what, I'm trying to do this, translate this. Cool, here's my query.
Yep.
But you know what? That's not everyone's situation right now. That's not the best case, the 100% best app or process for every person. And I think we have to be very conscious of this. Mike, I need you to take yourself out of nerd, agentic land.
No,
you're knee deep. You are swimming in the deep end of
Tommy,
the agentic pool.
Because
you're doing backstrokes.
I'm swimming in the deep end because people keep saying it's AI is going to do things that are going to shift how fundamentally. I'm already seeing it. I'm already seeing it with my developers. I'm already seeing it with everything I'm doing, and it's not about. The story here is the creator of things, the creator of what you want to build. That is the hook. That's the change that is actually shifting everything right now. And so it doesn't matter what experience you're in, Power Query, SQL, notebooks, Python, everything I'm touching now becomes better when I can just talk to the thing and say, I want you to do this. Now, if I go to Power Query and say, in Power Query, I want you to make a parameter, load these tables using said parameter into Power Query, right? I should be able to have it start that step, and it should take me something that normally would have taken 30 minutes to an hour to do. It should compress it down to, I just tell it what I want. And I think there's nothing more universally acceptable than just talking to something and having it give you the results that you need, or recommending things. So to me, there's this gap between even in Data Flows Gen 2, there's this gap between what is best practices in Data Flows Gen 2 versus what I know as a developer or builder of things. A builder, just say a builder, not even a developer at this point, because anyone can build now. So to me, the barrier has just gone down to the very smallest amount. I know what I want to do with my data. I know I need to get into Fabric. I should be able just to say, make this happen. And then it should just go. And Microsoft should be really talking about are the users needing to ask for? What are common tasks there? Because that is really where I think you're going to gain a lot of efficiency.
I have so many other things to say. I'm going to save it for an episode. I'm going to put this as a topic on our backlog because I feel we can completely take over this. This is a great conversation. So I'm going to shelf that. I'm going to put that in the parking lot because I think other people will like to hear that conversation. Let me just say this, and then we'll move on. All I see is you in a swimming pool, just water spitting out, doing the backstrokes, and just
it's just not even water. It's just like little ones and zeros. I'm just spitting out little ones and zeros everywhere.
All right. So let's get to the topic because this was a great conversation, and I'm glad you brought that up too because this was very good. We got a mailbag again. We're gonna say it's mailbag mania here, and let's dive in. Bridging the gap for live connection consumers. Following the calculation group episode, which when did we do that? And a follow-up post I sent, there's one thing I forgot to mention. Tommy was heavily using field parameters. Oh, this was a while ago. But this is a limitation if the semantic model is going to be the source of our favorite BI tool, Excel. All my models have several field parameters as well. And this is even Hagen, I'm going to say here. So we're going to dive right in, Mike, where not all the features in Power BI work for all the, in a sense, solutions. This goes back to, right off the bat, Mike, this goes back to a conversation on semantic models are not the be all end all, or reports are not the end of the road when it comes to our process and when it comes to the product that we're creating. And I'm more and more, Mike, thinking about everything we do in Fabric as a product, whether it's a lakehouse or a model or a database. It is a product. And field parameters, for those who may not know, is really the ability to circumvent calculation groups where you can basically have a slicer or drop down to say, you know what, I want to see metric A, and everything can update. Behave similar to calculation groups. It allows the user interface to do that. Or you can do this based on metrics, measures, or dimensions. Dynamically change visuals on a page based on a slicer. Very powerful, very, very feature rich, and something that I have implemented for clients. Not 100% all the time, but definitely when the need arises, it has been very impactful. But to Elvin's point here, well, no use case here in Excel does not really translate. And I think this brings up a bigger conversation too, Mike, where there's a lot of things we can do in the report does not translate to the semantic model. So I think it starts off here. How conscious should we be of when we build a semantic model of the Excel user?
I think this is going to really look at what your users are trying to do with the report, right? That's where I'm going to go with this initially. What does your audience look like? Identify that first and foremost. And then I want to have I know what you're going at here, Tommy. I'm going to let you get there. I want to answer more of your question.
Yeah.
But I also want to ask you right now directly, like right now, when you build a report or you're building reports for people or models for people, how often are you trying to incorporate field parameters into your report builds? Now, like today, like the last 3 weeks.
If honestly, if the need or request arises. So I think a better way for me to answer that question is in the normal process of building a report, I have my checklist. It's not part of the checklist or the primary checklist. It's very more on a situation by situation basis.
Great. That's exactly, I didn't even have to tell you to answer it that way. That's exactly my point. So I think field parameters are a solution to a very particular problem. And I think the particular problem exists only inside Power BI reports. The concept of being able to have this selection slicer, pick what kind of fields you want, and therefore it changes the data that's actually represented on other parts of your model or your calculations or the field parameters that are there. I think this is a very Power BI report-centric solution for building reports, right? I want this report. I had a very specific need. I don't want to select, and I shared the link here to SQL BI's article, which is phenomenal, explaining like what they are. But I don't want brand and category. I want brand and color, or I want category and continent, or I want country and continent. Right? This ability to pivot through data and have different results shown. The calculations are still the same. Some of sales, some of units, whatever. But I'm then changing out the different columns as needed. Right? That to me, that is a very Power BI report specific problem we're trying to solve. And so my challenge to this is when you go back to Excel, we're doing things differently. It doesn't need that same level of like context switching. And if you do need it, you can actually just handle the same experience by building something different in Excel. You're building different stuff.
Two big thoughts there. I like where you're going with this. I'm frustrated, Mike. I'm frustrated. Because
if we had AI, we solved this like months ago. I'm just saying.
All right. Okay.
All right.
Okay. All right. Listen, why do anything? Why should we even do the podcast at this point? Just let AI run with it. So it has enough transcripts. I'm sure it can do our voices. I digress. I'm frustrated, Mike, because when field parameters came out, I thought that it was the game changer. I thought this was going to be 95% of my reports were going to have this.
Yes.
I felt the need for it. I definitely felt the need for it. That hasn't been the case. I think there's reasons for that. Part of it, I think, is for users. Is that as intuitive as you would want? I don't know what else you would do, but I think users like to know what they're looking at. For someone who's turning the widgets that I like to say in reports, great feature. But a lot of reports, you're trying to see a specific thing. With that being said, the other part of this too, Mike, is field parameters, if not a universally accepted thing. And I would argue too that most people who are listening to the podcast, they use them, but I bet it's less than 20%.
Yeah, very, very few. But it's also solving a very specific problem. So I think this is a solution to a very specific problem. And I think Chris Wagner is bringing up some really good points here in the chat, which I want to call out. Chris, you're doing a great job of like really kind of leading the conversation here a bit. But you're saying some things like, the question should be, I mean, I'm saying this as well in chat, but like the question is, who's your audience? How are they trying to consume this, right? If you're only building reports, Power BI reports, and you're only going to let anyone consume that report using this feature, then great. Field parameters are acceptable to be part of the model. If you want to take that same exact semantic model and give it to Excel users, this is one of those trade-offs. You're going to have to be mindful of this just won't work. And so if, again, the lens is what is your user going to be looking for? Are they looking for the same exact experience that you have inside the report, which is built with a field parameter, and then go over to Excel and see the exact same thing? If that's what you're looking for, field parameters isn't the best solution for you.
So you asked me a pointed question. Let me do the same and return that favor to you.
Here we go. The volley's coming back to me now.
The volley's coming back, my friend, with a vengeance. with your clients, not only how much are you training them on semantic models in Excel, but how much do you know they're actually using that in their daily or weekly workflow?
It's increasing. The surface area of this is increasing. I think it's
Okay.
gaining momentum, right? This is and it's also potentially the kind of work that you're working in, Tommy, right? So, if you're
Yeah.
working on teams that are like, we're going to do everything in Power BI and that's only the thing that we're going to share through. Yes. I've recently been doing a lot of work with like financial and finance teams. And so there's no pulling away Excel from their hands. Like
Oh no.
they will be buried with their Excel sheets in hand uh, when they're done their career, because that's how they think about data. That's how they look at things. So we definitely have to have that as part of that feature set. So what I'm finding is interesting now is the traditional pattern has been go to SSRS, go build an export of data, export or have that data sent to you in the morning, pick up said data with the tables, and then go to Excel and then do the data crunching, right? So what we're able to do now is slightly shift that. And where I think the advantage is coming in is we're now using Analyze in Excel a lot more, because that allows me to put the model into people's hands. And the underrated feature here, which I think, Tommy, is really interesting, when you build the semantic model, you can expose tables of data that are enterprise or organizational tables. When I show people this and show them that you can build a semantic model, push it to the surface, and that table just appears in the little organizational data drop-down menu as
Of course.
data, people are like, "What? What is this?" Like, so there's I think there needs to be more of that emphasis. I think the idea of make it as frictionless as possible to push, not just, connect to the semantic model and say, here's your Excel document. Like, that's a little bit, it's not too much friction, but there's some friction there. But the other side of this is, how quickly can we get useful information into those Excel sheets? And I think one of them is pushing that data to every user in a little UI that says, here's all the tables that you have access to from semantic models. Here's what you can go build. Another one I think is a big miss here, Tommy, is when you go into Excel and you get these tables from semantic models, where's the model diagram? Where's the definition of measures? How do I extend this experience a little bit? So to me, that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see like almost like a custom widget. I'm going to throw shots here, Tommy.
You're gonna build this.
I'm going to throw shots here. Okay, right here. Here it comes. I'm going to announce it here. Anthropic, would you please add another extension to Excel that lets me go to see my semantic model and the relationships and all of the semantic model diagrams directly inside Excel? Could you go build that for me?
In fact, he's not calling out Microsoft here.
Whoa! I'm just saying, I'm throwing shots. So I think they have crushed it in building extensions for Excel already with being able to make Excel file and manipulating things. I am really excited about this. And also to this point, Tommy, Anthropic and particularly Claude Code is doing some incredible things when it comes to coding languages, disrupting technology. I think someone just announced there's like an accelerator where I think Anthropic just did we can now program in Cobalt now. Cobalt runs the entire like airline industry and the banking industry. And there's a whole bunch of developers that are retiring that can't write Cobalt. Well, now we don't need to worry about it. I can just show up and just say, here's an AI that knows every single thing around Cobalt. You just tell it what you want it to do. It'll go debug it.
Excel on field parameters.
I'm just saying
this. Yeah.
Bring that same analogy over to what we're doing in Excel, right? Bring that same analogy over. It's saying, okay, where's the extensions? This is my point, Tommy. Maybe I'll have to go vibe code one. I'll have one by next podcast. I'm going to go give my bot a task and say, hey, I need you to go build an Excel plugin that when I connect to a semantic model will show me the diagram of the model in addition to all the measures in it. And then when I build my pivot table, I can just select things from it and just have it work. Like, I don't know, Tommy.
Okay.
This could be a thing.
As of today, we don't have that. So
true, but I may have to prove to you I can build it in a couple days.
I don't doubt you can do it. I'll listen. We can vibe code race that if you want. But the fact is, as of right now of recording, as of recording right now, that ain't here. And by the way, look, just a quick side note. What other podcast are you going to hear about agentic data flows and SSRS? Nowhere. It is the only place you're going to find that. But Mike, I think there's still a question though with the field, even with the field parameters. Let's say you do create a lot with field parameters, and I would bet Bernard Aguelo, right? He's a huge calculation groups guy. Bernard.
He's built some amazing things in calculation.
And we know enterprise organizations are using these kind of, I don't want to call them niche tooling of semantic models, but the things that are not your standards, let's say. Because I think you and I would both agree that field parameters calculation groups are not a standard report that has, the very particular use cases. Am I building semantic models now for Power BI, or am I building semantic models for all the other applications that can be designed? And I think that goes both with Excel and even AI and even Semantic Link Labs. I think that's kind of, to me, I'm looking at the question here, and I think that's the bigger conversation, the bigger discussion here.
This is great. What I think you're touching on is, and again, I'm going to just kind of also, I'm gonna throw my understanding of this, Tommy, what you're describing. Mm-hmm. You're describing organizational patterning, right?
Yeah, yeah. 100%.
I'm using very generic terms here because what I think we really want here is we want the entire example of every piece of data we've ever built into a single semantic model. Now, I don't want the data loaded to the semantic model. Mm-hmm. What I want is the ability to have every table related to every table, right?
Hold on. You said I don't want the data loaded to the semantic model?
Hold on. Let me finish the idea.
Yeah. I just want to
make sure. So this is like the data. This is like the data catalog for things, right? So this is the enterprise data estate, right? There's a lot of, lake house, whatever you want to call. There's a lake estate of everything that we're working on as an organization. Think about this. I need to know the metadata of every table, every semantic model, every measure. As an organization, this is common, to your point, Tommy, right? Where do we use field parameters? How do they leverage? Do we need them in this model or that model? Like, fine, we have tables, we have relationships. This table is now being produced here, and that has a relationship to this fact table or this dimension or whatever the things are, right? We need the ability to say, here's all of the tables and data, and this is kind of what an ontology is supposed to do. Describe your business in these ways. Now, the interesting thing I find here is from an ontology of your organization, how data comes in, where does it come from, what system does it originate in, how do you join it together with other systems, right? So all these kind of like business rules of us bringing this data estate together. Ultimately, what I think we want is, I don't really want to build a semantic model. I want to have someone come into a central place, describe everything we need, and then pluck out, hey, Tommy, we're going to work on social media data for our organization. It's not sales data per se, but it's like all these other random feeds. And what I can say is grab this fact table out of all the real metrics of our data, and then by default, the system should say, oh, I see from that fact table, you have these measures. We can automatically bring them in. Here's all the dimensions that may or may not touch that table. You want me to bring them in or not? And so here is where I want to, on the fly, build an entire semantic model based on definitions of how my company works with its data. Like, that's what we're kind of doing. But right now, we're all doing this like one-off, a semantic model, a collection of semantic models. Oh, I had to bring more tables to the lake house. We're not really defining how they're related to everything else. So there's this idea of the creator's experience that can be so much more enriched if we just have this larger pile of what data is used to run our business.
Bit of a carriage before the horse here, my friend, that you're speaking about.
Sure.
And because, Mike, we have to remember when we talk about all the AI stuff that we want, the data is already there. Like, you're talking about billions and billions of records and, points of data. And
the model doesn't need everything.
Yeah, but an organization does not, one, have the volume of data, nor has it been trained or structured yet to work with them. And Marco Russo, right? Marco Russo is the first to say that the semantic model is the best version or structure for AI to work, right?
What I said does not disagree with that in any way. All I'm saying is
Someone has to build it.
yes, and that's what I'm also saying. That's what needs to be built at the company-wide central organizational level. We should be focusing on these are all the tables and all the lake houses. If you think about it, high up, right? I've got 30 lake houses across a couple different teams. We're building all this data. We're bringing everything in. All of those tables are just storage of data and things that we need. Why can't I, from that list of tables and related relationships and or measures that we're building, why can't I select I want this table from this model from this lake house and say find me all related tables that match or would be useful to that thing, and then I pick what measures I want, what I'm trying to calculate, what dimensions are needed or not. And all of that just so I'm not saying take away the semantic model. This is all fodder for the semantic model.
So at this point in time, you mentioned this about the field parameters in Excel. If you choose to do field parameters, you are sacrificing use cases in Excel. But you're saying the same thing to me when it comes to building a semantic model in that fashion.
But I pick that. Like that should be something allowed to, but, like, hey, here's a model, or here's the definition, here's the schema of what the field would do.
But the problem,
do I pull it along for the ride, or do I just say no?
Now,
there's no reason why I can't have the exact same two models pointing at the exact same tables of data, one having field parameters and one not. There's no reason.
No, I mean, there's no reason, but I don't think there's a good reason too, because here's the problem with what you're saying to me. You're building this giant, at least what I'm hearing, and I may be hearing this wrong. We're building a very large semantic model that's kind of all encompassing. And the problem is that's not going to work well with Power BI, right? And so like that goes against the very workflow that we've done with Power BI up until this point. And maybe you're right. Maybe that is going to be the preferred way. But for the last 10 years, we've built semantic models in a certain fashion. And that leeway of flexibility of what we've been able to do is not too wide, because whether you're enterprise, managed self-service, or mid-sized company, we're not bloating the models. We're not putting all the tables in a single one, then picking and choosing. One, the infrastructure is not there. Two, we've always built for Power BI reports. That's always been the be all end all.
Yes.
And if we're going to build everything all
do that, like I
think we're saying that we're moving away from that. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, I'm saying that's one of many ways we're now starting to build reports for. So
so what's the primary way?
Me personally, right now, we're starting to evolve. It's still primary Power BI reports is what you're building semantic models for, but now, with Copilot on home, you're now building semantic models. Like, is your model AI ready? There's a whole series of blogs and people trying to figure out how do you make your model AI ready now. So now we're building semantic models, not just for the report. We're building semantic models for the reports, AI, Excel, paginated report building, right? So there's more. The semantic.
Don't bring that up again.
It is. Regardless, you're going to need to export data, and people are not going to want pretty pictures and pretty graphics all the time. People are going to want tables of data. And when you hand data to external customers or people you're giving data to, you're not going to give them a pretty report every single time. They just sometimes want the data. So what's happening is more and more of our organization is saying, look, if you look if you look at the semantic model is the linchpin. It's the keystone to everything we're building. On one side of the archway, we're building all the Fabric, Spark, data warehousing, storage, lakehouse. Everything on that side is supporting the left-hand side. The right-hand side is Power BI reports, semantic models, AI generated queries, DAX queries, SQL queries, all the other things on the other side of but all of that, the linchpin, the keystone is the semantic model. You have to describe, and every single tool is doing it. You cannot give me a tool that doesn't have some level of semantic model stuck in the middle, and it's a semantics layer. It's Databricks with metrics views, and it's Snowflake building their own version of a semantic model.
Okay.
Power BI and Microsoft just came out with it first and has been using it just much longer. So all
with that in mind,
starting to build this.
With that in mind, where does Excel fit into the picture? Because to
It's just
me,
one more part of the other side of the archway. I mean, again, it still hangs off of the semantic model.
Is not the okay, well, this is another question then. Is not the preferred design for a report also the preferred design for Excel? Right? Would you agree with that? No?
They're totally two different things.
So you would build two separate semantic models, one for people analyzing in Excel or using the Excel module, and one for report building.
Depends on what you need in the report side. So what I would prefer is I would simplify the Power BI report side enough to get it down to a place where I could only use a simplified semantic model. Again, if you're trying to go for high usage on a semantic model and you want large distribution for it,
So
the more you customize it for like things like field parameters, the less availability you have of those features applying to other tools. Period. Like I don't hear anyone using field parameters in paginated reports. You're not going to probably use it in an AI thing.
Parameters are pretty important in
AI
paginated
doesn't build
reports.
field parameters. It's not building anything there for you with that. You're not going to use that there. So it's that is a pure Power BI report thing. So this would also be an argument to say if you're building field parameter like things, maybe that should only live in the thin report. The core of your semantic model should be fundamentals, measures, relationships, fact tables, and dimensions. Like that's your fundamentals. When you start going to field parameters, that's something that now I'm going to say, that feels more like a thin report that has field parameters built into it now, or a direct connection analysis services.
Becomes a composite model at that point, does it not?
Composite model now. So there's all these other things that are going on here. So I think, I'm probably going to shy away more from using field parameters in lieu of if I add them and I give someone an experience around that report, I'm going to shortcut myself away from being able to use all these other tools that still need to hang off the semantic model. And so I would also maybe argue too, Tommy, right? We have tools now that can do diffs between models. The barrier that we need to be able to maintain a model that has field parameters and a model that does not have it, I would argue PBIP, TIMDL, PBIR format, all of that makes it way easier for me to like leverage the same model twice. The downside being you've got to make sure you have the same source tables for both. And so
but then you also run into the problem though too, Mike, of measure dependencies or really measure replication, right? So you can do that,
parameters,
but then we run into the same issue. But everything.
That's what I'm saying. When I'm going back to my bigger plan of like the ontology of all my data across my company,
sure,
if you have that, every copy semantic model is only a representation of the original thing. Like the Power BI ecosystem already has all the stuff that we need. It's already got lineage tag IDs for every single measure. So you build a central version of this that has a single lineage tag, and every time you change that item, the lineage tag updates or stays the same depending on what your business logic is.
A
lot of other stuff there. And so I think for me, a lot of that stuff just happens by default. This is a great discussion. And I was thinking that we were going to go down like the enterprise ontology mapping of my data with field parameters, but it kind of does. It kind of fits.
Yeah, it does. It absolutely does. And kind of my last thoughts here is I think I'm very conscious about building field parameters. We're getting to the point now where you have to make a choice whether you're actually going to build them at all.
That's
right.
True.
And I think where we're going with this, are we at the point right now where our semantic models have another primary case in report creation? Not today, but I think we're getting there. That movement is happening. And I think you need to start considering that. But most organizations, they're behind. And it's only because they're behind. Every organization is behind the technology. But that does not mean you need to start planning that way. And that's where I'm thinking, Mike.
Let me post
my closing thought. Yeah.
Let me pose another question there to you. The question is the effort to learn and build and maintain, because it maintains a big part of this too, effort, build, 100%. Maintain a field parameter, is that more effort than just getting the semantic model with AI to rebuild what you want? Like,
I would disagree not. I would say field parameters are pretty straightforward. Calculation groups are one thing.
Disagree.
But
it's easier for I'm going to 100% disagree with you on this one. A field parameter switches out data parts on a table so you can select it and switch it. It's a switcher. It's a lot of technology
Yeah.
to build that thing. You got to understand how it works. If SQL BI is written about it, it's going to be there's stuff to it. You got to understand how it works, right? So it's not as simple as sum of column drop on page, right? Which is what I think a lot of people are still kind of getting their head around what DAX can do and how to leverage it. So that being said, I'd argue the AI is going to know how to build stuff way faster. And so it's easier for me to communicate to the visual and say, don't build this visual with country, and going back to like the SQL BI article, right? Mm-hmm. Don't build this table with brand and category, just rebuild the table with color and continent, right? It's easier for me to just say that to the model than have to understand the calculation group, than to understand the slicer, than to understand how to wire everything together and to say what's blocking, what's not blocking. There's just a lot of things that maybe cause friction that if I just say, AI, just go build it. And this is my point. If the cost to build the new visual is dropping down to almost zero effort, then all these extra little bells and whistle features that we've been building in a Power BI desktop because we didn't have anyone to do it for us, go away. You don't need it. You can brute force a lot more things because the AI is good at brute forcing things faster than you can even think about them. Like that's where we're at on things. So
that's really good.
Really interesting thoughts here. Sorry for all the AI talk at the beginning.
No, it's good.
It's going to continue to happen, guys. I'm sorry. Thank you for listening to the podcast, but this is so revolutionary. Things are changing so fast right now in the AI space. You have to be paying attention to this stuff because it will fundamentally shift what you can do, how you can work on things, and how fast you can get stuff delivered. It's already happening for me.
100%. And I honestly, with that in mind, you're seeing this too, whether you're going to use AI, your organization is going to. So how are you thinking that way, no matter what? So, dude, I love it. I love it.
Great conversation. Thank you all very much for hanging out and talking with us today. We thank you very much for the chat. Chat has been very lively. Thank you very much. Chris Wagner, thank you very much for the donation. I saw that earlier today. So thank you so much. Got to shout you out very much. We appreciate that for supporting the channel. We really do appreciate that as well. For anyone else who wants to get involved, we are coming into March. Tommy and I will be traveling a lot. So FYI, you will see a lot more videos being pre-recorded and released early. If you want to become a member of our channel, become a member of our channel, and you can get our videos as soon as they are released. As soon as we build and publish them, they will be on our YouTube channel for members only. And if you are not wanting to do that, that's totally okay. They will also come out live after the fact, and they will only exist on the day that they're actually released. So if you want early content, March is going to have a ton of it coming out. You may want to check out our membership area if you'd like to see our content as we build it. You'll actually get for the next couple of weeks, if you subscribe, you'll actually be getting 4 episodes a week if you'd like for the next couple of weeks, because
pretty good.
We're going to be cranking out a lot of stuff here for recordings and such. All right. Beautiful. That being said, thank you all so much. We really appreciate your time. Tommy, where else can you find the podcast?
You can find us on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to subscribe and leave a rating. It helps us out a ton. Do you have a question, idea, or topic that you want us to talk about in a future episode? Head over to powerbi.tips/podcast. Leave your name and a great question. And finally, join us live every Tuesday and Thursday, 7:30 a.m. Central. Join the conversation on all Power BI Tips social media channels.
Thank you all so much. We appreciate you. We'll see you next time.
Explicit measures, pump it up, be it high. Tommy and Mike lighting up the sky. Dance to the data, laughs in the mix. Fabric and AI, get your fix.